Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Wimbledon Spiritualist Church, to here in the church and outside world in the virtual world. I hope you have a lovely morning with us. We've got Mr. Phil Shaw with us. Phil, welcome. Good morning.
Good morning, Ray.
Phil will be taking the service for us, and I will do my bits and pieces in between time. I've a new experiment for me this morning. I now have to wear reading glasses instead of varifocal, so the whole congregation's a blur. I've seen dead people far clearer than I do the humans, so it's an experiment. When I tried to explain that to my doctors at the hospital, they just looked confused. So I told them to go to confused.com. They might get a better answer. So, friends, we have a lovely morning with everybody here. So the next hour or so, let's bring the two worlds that little bit closer, and I'll ask Phil to open with prayer.
Thank you, Ray. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and will you please join me in prayer? Great Spirit, Father, Mother God, we ask for your blessing on this service, and that through the intercession of our loved ones, spiritual guides and inspirers, we may move into a greater understanding of our soul purpose and fulfill our potential. We ask, please, for healing to be given to our planet, those who are unwell in mind, body and spirit, victims of war, the marginalized, lonely, bereaved, the animal kingdom and all sentient beings. Make us strong in heart and mind to face the challenges we meet on our path of enlightenment, knowing that Spirit are with us every step of the way to guide and support our development and aspiration, and in so doing make an even stronger connection to our inner note of truth and love. Thank you to Ray and Jackie Robinson and members of the church, and those visitors and regular members online who contribute to the welfare of Wimbledon Church, a sanctuary of peace and regeneration. God bless you all. Amen.
Now, friends, we're going to have the healing moment where we would pray for those people whose names are inscribed in our healing book here at Wimbledon Church. And I also think of healing books everywhere around the UK. And this morning, we also, and I'm not a great football supporter, but I do hope the England Lionesses do well. And from a political point of view, I'd like to do to Spain what we did in 1588. But that's just me, my Tudor hat on. So, friends, we now do the healing prayers. Kelly and Stephen, Daphne, Jill, Amber, David, Lorraine, Irene, Shirley, Barbara, Bernie, Marion, Anthony, Tony and Julie, Charlie in Australia, Janet, and John, Ruby and Ivor. We ask healing for all those names deeply inscribed on our own hearts and minds, and those in beds of sickness and discomfort. And we think of you all out there joining in with us this morning, that you receive the blessing and the power of the Spirit and be healed of mind, body and spirit according to divine law. Amen. Can we now say the Serenity Prayer? God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Thank you all. We now come to that part of the service where we do the collection, and if Jim could go round, and anyone online, if you'd like to donate, the information's on the system, and the money you donate goes to the work and the mission of the Wimbledon Spiritualist Church. And we now got some adverts from SVTV, so please watch the screens in front of you.
Spiritual Psychics TV presents a wonderful evening of mediumship and trance. Our evening is hosted by Nick Brown with guests Bill Hughes, Glenda Marie, David Hale and Minty May. Our exciting event is being held at the Littleport Village Hall, which is in Ely. The date for our magical showcase is Saturday the 9th of September. The price is only £10, which includes refreshments. For ticket information, please visit myspiritualevents.com. Nadija Bajami, a proficient strategic hypnotherapist, mind coach, grief educator, accomplished Reiki master, and gifted psychic medium, extends a warm invitation to join us on an exploration during a 4-week introductory mediumship course. As a special privilege, this extraordinary opportunity is being offered to our esteemed VIP members without any associated costs. Immerse yourself in the art of refining your innate talents and finding balance in communion with the realm of spirits. The course begins on Sunday, November 5th, at 7 p.m. via Zoom, and details will be placed in the VIP lounge. For more information on becoming a VIP, visit sptv.uk. Tomorrow from 10:30 a.m., Nick Brown and Glenda Marie hosts their weekly magazine show with special guests, news, and readings. The show includes answering your spiritual questions with their own insights. Sarah Andrews joins us for her Angel Show from 6 p.m. on Monday, offering readings for our viewers and clarification of each angel.
Tomorrow night from 8 p.m., join Claire Pasterfield for her own show. Claire will be offering free readings and advice via Facebook and YouTube.
Thank you, Richard, for those adverts. And I would ask you all to join as many of those events as much as you can. Yesterday, Ashley did an evening of clairvoyance at a place in Cosham in Portsmouth. And prior to that, we went round the Navy dockyard at Portsmouth, and we went round looking at the new Mary Rose exhibition, which is new to me, that one. I only saw it when it first came up a few years back in the early 90s. And I had one of the people say to me, this is a bit embarrassing, sir. I said, well, what's that? He said, well, can you not talk so loud because you know more than we do? And I said, they said, you're talking like you were there watching it all. I said, maybe. And Ethan, my grandson, went, yes, my granddad knows things you don't know. So I gently said, come along, Ethan, we better go now. And it was quite interesting because the exhibition there is, for somebody like me interested in Tudor history, and I know Phil is as well, it was quite real how they had things standing there, and then suddenly you go from one part of a visual exhibition and you're suddenly standing in front of Henry VIII, and it really was quite moving and exciting for me. It really was interesting. And Ethan did say quite loudly, Grandad, this is the man you said you knew before. I said, come on, Ethan, we better go on, we're blocking the way. So, friends, we're now coming to the part of the service where we ask Phil to come up and share his address with us all. And Phil will also give a short expedition. You going on an expedition, Phil? I'll pick that up clairvoyantly. A short explanation of his work and who he is within the Spiritualist movement. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, Mr. Phil Shaw.
I'll start with the reading and then straight into the address.
Yeah, I just thought you might want to give
Right, yes, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Some of you are familiar with my background, others of you are not. So very briefly, I came into spiritualism during I would say probably my early 30s, and I still maintain that it happened largely by accident, but that's probably completely untrue because I latterly, and looking back on the way events occurred, believe that Spirit actually jettisoned me into the movement very, very unexpectedly. I was due to arrive at a meeting in Belgrave Square, the location of the original Spiritualist Association of Great Britain premises, and I was very much thinking I was very much on time, but I discovered looking at my watch that I only had 10 minutes to get to this particular meeting, and I had to pass the SAGB, the Spiritualist Association of Great Britain, on my way to the meeting. Anyway, to cut a long story short, as I was passing the SAGB, I was literally pushed sideways into the building, into what were then the rotating doors, and through into the reception area, where a lady said to me, "Oh, you must have come for Mrs. Northage's demonstration in the Oliver Lodge Hall. Can you go straight up, please?" And I said, "I'm sorry, I'm not here for a demonstration. I'm looking for this particular company that I have a meeting with." And she said, No, I haven't got time to talk. Look, here's your ticket, go straight up." So I arrived in the upstairs Oliver Lodge room. Mrs. Ivy Northage began her demonstration. And then finally, she came to me at the back of the hall and said, "Young man, would you see me afterwards? I have words to say to you." So I thought she was going to reprimand me for being late or nearly late for the demonstration. But anyway, we talked and she said to me, "Are you developing now?" And I said, "Excuse me, what do you mean, are you developing now?" She said, "Are you developing your mediumship?" So I said, "No, Mrs. Northage, I'm not. I'm not sure what you're referring to as mediumship." So she explained and she said, "You have potential, young man, and I'd like you to start in my SAGB group as soon as possible." She said, "I'm here Tuesdays and Thursdays," and gave me all the particulars about the time. So I thought, well, this is very, very strange. I can't make a lot of sense of this. But anyway, I kept the information. I walked outside the building. I looked at my watch and I still had 10 minutes to get to my meeting. So time had literally stood still while I had been pushed into the SAGB building. And that's really how it started. I continued to study with Ivy at the SAGB and the College of Psychic Studies latterly, and also did several courses at the Arthur Findlay College with the wonderful Gordon Higginson and the late Gordon Higginson, and also the late Ursula Roberts. So that was a fantastic training and foundation for my future development. And since then, I've been working, well, as you probably know, I've been working here at Wimbledon for many, many years. I first came here in my early 30s, and I've been coming here ever since, and latterly working here as a medium, running open platform, and also demonstrating in churches in South London and on the South Coast. So that, in a slightly larger than expected nutshell, is my background as to how and why I have chosen now and wholeheartedly embrace the philosophy and foundations of spiritualism and mediumship. Thank you very much. So I will now proceed to my reading, which is an extract from a book called Dark Nights of the Soul, written by Thomas More, PhD, who was a Catholic monk for 12 years and later became a psychotherapist, earning degrees in theology, musicology, and religion. He lectures extensively throughout North America, and this is a particularly, I feel, appropriate piece to be sharing with you in these very uncertain and in many ways unsettling times, both personally and collectively. He writes, "A dark night of the soul can heal, where healing means being more alive and more present to the world around you. It heals by opening you up, sometimes to the point where you might feel dismembered. It opens the doorways between you and the world that heretofore have been closed. It reinstates the flow of life through you. For human beings at their best, remember, are porous, like an artist open to inspiration, a mystic open to mystery, a physician open to the healing power within him or her, a parent open to the dramas of transformation that constitutes family. The initiatory process is more difficult and sometimes more painful than treating your dark night as a problem needing a solution. It is never easy to accept more life, never easy to become more of who you are. It is challenging in the extreme to really live life instead of taking it in portions that are comfortable or convenient for you. Often it may feel preferable, though this preference is rarely conscious, to be depressed than to allow life to actually flow. This is one reason why the darkness is so tenacious and takes forever to vanish. At some level, you prefer it and want it. All the many kinds of dark night we have explained here want you to live. That they come to you with sensations and images of death is not so odd. To some degree, new life always requires termination of the old. Death is an appropriate image, and that is exactly what it is, an image. It doesn't mean you are going to die, although you may feel the sadness of ending in the midst of your dark night. It means that life wants to go on differently. Real, vital life doesn't repeat itself. You have to experience this dying. Sometimes it will be more difficult than at other times. In each case, you can't cheat the process by knowing that it will all turn out right eventually. It may not, in fact, turn out in a way that you would wish for. Your mother may die, your friend may commit suicide, you may lose your job. The new life may depend on painful endings. You have to look through and beyond the literal facts. Failure and tragedy may be the only means by which life can continue. So those were the thoughts, ladies and gentlemen, that I wanted to share with you, because I, as much as yourselves, am aware of the fact that we are all moving through a very weird and wonderful portal of time, which I tend to think of as awakening. An awakening time, not just an awakening to new areas of experience and perhaps perception in terms of how we view the world and how we think the world views us, but also in terms of a very, very subjective experience in which an individual's ego transcends their ordinary finite sense of self to encompass a wider, infinite sense of truth or reality. It is also a period of time in Earth's evolution and in our personal and spiritual evolution where, I'm sure you will agree with me, we often feel as though we are on a ship that is heading somewhere and we don't particularly know or are aware of its destination, but it is being tossed here, there and everywhere, often in very turbulent currents, and dislodging us and destabilizing us from our own personal sense of security that we have developed and built up as a fortification over many, many years, sometimes, of Earth life. This is also a time, I feel, for, as well as awakening, it's a time of affirmation. It's a time of affirming who we actually are. And when I say who we actually are, I'm referring to the inner we, the inner I, as opposed to that aspect of personality that you may feel you have developed over the years as a means of surviving in this very unpredictable and erratic stream of life. And I don't think any of us really are often strong enough to say, well, from the moment I was born until this moment in time, I have always demonstrated my full self, my full potential, and I'm totally 150% transparent so that everybody can see who I am, what my goal is, and what I am doing with my life in a very positive and a very constructive way. We all have these safeguard mechanisms that protect our sensitivity, vulnerability, and often deep-rooted insecurities. So what I intend to share with you this morning, friends, is the fact that affirmations should be lived out. And I'd like you to all personally join me in affirming that you have reached a point in this life where you have achieved many, many goals, targets that you set for yourself, which, all right, may not be completely up to your original expectations, but a lot of work has been accomplished by you. And I want you to look at those times of accomplishment and achievement more than perhaps you look at them now, and certainly more than the so-called or self-perceived failures that you might consider you have also experienced in your life. Because let's face it, failure is just a means of learning and a means of growing. And if we never failed, we would never learn from that particular experience. So how many, first of all, in the church, how many people now feel that the point where they are now in life has been or is a recognition of some form of achievement, and that they acknowledge the fact that they have worked hard and assiduously to get to this point of personal and spiritual recognition? How many in the church believe that to be the case? Good. I want to see more hands going up here. Thank you very much. Good. So how often do you wake up in the morning and say to yourselves, I actually deserve to give myself a round of applause for having got to this point now in my life? How many of you actually give yourself a round of applause every day? No hands are going up. I don't know whether people are saying yes, no online. But so what we're going to do now, we're going to give ourselves a round of applause for getting to this point and having succeeded thus far. Good. Thank you very much indeed. And I can see a lot of smiling faces now thinking, yes, why don't I do that more frequently? Normally, when I give an address, I get very, I'm very meticulous about what I'm going to do. And although I like an address to be spontaneous and intuitive, nevertheless, I always have a sort of an arc in my head several days before as to what I'm going to speak about in general terms, and then allow Spirit to come in and really embellish that and work with me on it. But this time, I had an epiphany. For anybody that doesn't understand the word epiphany, which I didn't till I looked in the dictionary, it's a magic moment. It's a light bulb moment when suddenly you become aware of the fact that, yes, I can actually do this. There are no barriers. There's nobody saying you can or you can't do that. So I was in the shower this morning and I was saying to Spirit, right, we're ready to go. What is the subject? And they said, the subject this morning is you. Is you, simply you. And I said, I can't talk about me because that's egotistical, it's narcissistic, da, 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 da. No. They said, you're going to talk about you sharing your vulnerability, your fear, your insecurity, and the fact that you feel as destabilized, as a lot of other people do in the world today, by what is happening around you, not only in your personal life, but in the world at large. So I said, fine, I will do that. So what I want to do, what I want to achieve in this address is to make people in church and online aware of the fact that I recognize, I acknowledge your own personal vulnerability and fear, because I share that vulnerability and fear. And it is no easy feat, as any medium will tell you, to get up onto a platform and to speak as spontaneously as you possibly can without any preparation or any notes. I mean, I've spent nearly 40 years now working in the theatre, film and television industry. And I've worked 30 years as a professional actor. And believe me, working on platform as a medium is a million times harder than getting on stage, doing a first night, doing a large Shakespearean role, because you have your script, you do your rehearsal, you learn your lines, and then you're ready to go. With mediumship, you have none of that. So you are up here exposing yourself in a very, very vulnerable way. And unless you fully trust Spirit, 120%, which I do, you will not get through that particular experience, because you will rely then on your own ego, your own self-consciousness, and that is always a barrier to Spirit's communication. So this is what I wanted to share with you, my friends, that I recognize that we are all very much, as far as the insecurity and vulnerability, in a similar situation. And I like to think that when people leave a church or a demonstration, they feel uplifted, they feel inspired, they feel motivated, and they start talking about that particular address. How did that address affect me? I mean, a lot of people will say, well, that was very nice and it was very, interesting, da 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 da. But they're not actually, are they actually going away and saying, how did that really impact me? Has that had any effect on the reasons why I come to church, why I like to be in church, to hear an address, to hear a demonstration? And I think that if people can leave feeling uplifted and the message has meant something to them personally, then the medium's job has been done successfully. So, not wanting to go on at great length, which I know we haven't got time to do, I hope that my words about the awakening and acknowledging your unlived potential and how getting the strength and the confidence and the assurity within yourself to say, I'm not going to be put down, I'm going to do this. There's no such thing as no, I can't do it. I'm going to do it. The wonderful example recently of our dear friend and Ray's son, Ashley Robinson, who recently climbed Snowdonia. There's another wonderful example of saying, this is what I want to do. I aim to raise that amount of money. I aim to do that expedition, that climb, whatever. And this is what he did successfully and raised a great deal of money for the Royal Marsden Cancer Charity. So never let this word no encroach on your consciousness. Never be put down by people that say, well, you've never done that. How can you possibly believe that you could achieve that? Don't listen. Listen to your own inner voice, your inner note of truth, and be brave, friends, because braveness and courage are the hallmarks of your emerging spirituality. And through doing this, your light will shine. You will transmit that energy and that confidence and that braveness to others and help many of those in the world who are in a little corner feeling perhaps very deprived, very lonely, very isolated, who haven't been given the chance to say or to think or believe or to get inspired to feel, I can do this, I will do this, and this is what I intend to do. So thank you very much for listening to me, friends, and God bless you all.
Thank you very much, Phil. Back in the 70s, a member of our church and a close friend of mine passed to the spirit. And when Jimmy Collins was president of the church, he did not like conducting funeral services. So I asked him if he would conduct Phil's, and he said, no, get Jeff Martin. And I said, no, I can't. Phil was a member of this church. And I said, I'll do it. And he pointed his finger at me. He said, you can't do it. You'll never be able to. I said, I'll show you. Next thing I know, I'm standing up there thinking, oh, Lord, what have I got myself into? And if things could have gone wrong, it went wrong. And it really was not a great service. Brenda, his wife, was laughing all the way through. Oh, my Phil would love all this. It's all going wrong and he would have loved it. And Jim contacted me. We met and we had a chat, and he said, it broke my heart to say you couldn't do it. I needed to get you up there to start doing it. And he said, it really did break my heart. Jim was like an uncle to me. We've been Dad's business friend since the late 50s and early 60s. And the rest is a journey that I took. But Phil is right. And as I say to Ashley with his mediumship, and he said this at Walton Church the other week, when somebody said no to him, and they went, I'm sorry, he went, no, that no is a challenge now. That is a challenge for me to expand my mediumship. And there's not enough mediums do that. But it was a great talk, Phil. Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. Right, friends, we're now coming to the part of the service, both online and here in the church, where Phil will demonstrate the gifts of the Spirit. And if Phil comes to speak to you, please try and answer here in the church as clear and as focused as you possibly can. And online, again, please be as clear as you can with your answers. And I'll hand back to Phil for his demonstration of spiritualist mediumship. Thank you, Phil.
Hello again. You'll be sick of the sight of me by the end of this service. Anyway, thank you. So as I was just sitting briefly and reconnecting to spirit, I was very aware of a lady, a mother, that would have been in the region of, say, late 40s, probably early 50s when she passed, but that would have been certainly 40, 50 years ago, when that age of 50 wasn't certainly thought of as, being young-ish. It was, moving on, really. So I want to also say with this lady, this mother, that she's very much giving me the impression of a tightness around her ribcage area, to imply that there was a great deal of difficulty breathing and trying to get oxygen into her body before she passed. And I want to move over into this side of the room here. I think I might be with Daphne here. Yes. Does this connect with you, with your mother and the condition? She was 60. Well, give me 10 years. Does the medical condition connect with the breathing? Right. Okay, fine. I don't want to put her terribly tall here. I want to put her about probably about your height. Yes. And she also tells me that just shortly before her passing, and obviously the illness could have had something to do with this, she became very tearful, because she's showing me tears and she's showing me just the body really collapsing in a way, giving up. You weren't with her? Right, okay. She says, that's enough of that, talking about her passing. She wants to describe herself when she was younger as quite an independent lady. And she says she wasn't out sort of waving banners for women's rights or anything of that kind, but she said she would always stand up for people that she believed in. And she believed in this thinking process of independence. She's linking into my address, actually, and saying what you said about believing in yourself and making an affirmation that what you can feel you can do if you put your mind to the task. Do you understand? She wouldn't have necessarily verbally expressed it, but that was her modus operandi, if you like. All right, that was what got her through life. She's talking about her mother and how at certain points in their relationship, it got quite rocky. And she said, it took me many, many years to understand my own mother, which would obviously have been your grandmother, and how relationship was, how we could best work out our relationship together. So she's talking about mothers and daughters, and that she brought that to bear on your relationship with her, and that she was very conscious of allowing you to follow your own instinct, follow your own path, and be generally very free of any constriction parentally. You understand? Yes, good. Thank you. And your father preceded her to spirit? After? Because she's talking about saying father preceded her. Dad had some problem with the mental process, the mind? Your dad didn't, right, because she's talking about dad having foggy memory. Your mum had foggy memory, all right, okay. Because she did talk about dad, and she said, yes, she said about dad, she said, he wanted to be independent, but I felt sometimes I had to jog him along a little bit and give him a little bit of a helping hand. He was extremely independent, yes. Because she said occasionally I didn't want to interfere, but I felt that I needed to say certain things that would reaffirm or reinforce his own conviction. No? Right. But you recognise your mother and the details that she's given about her own and her own independence. Right. Okay. She's talking about Mary in spirit. No. This is a Mary in spirit who would have been a friend of hers on the earth plane, in the earth life, because she talks about meeting people that she hadn't seen for many, many years. All right? Okay. She also talks about coming into the present now, that you've had some problems across your shoulder blades here with aching. Yes, yes. And more to the point, that you've been thinking about taking out some writing that you were doing, that you had started doing some time ago, which you haven't yet had time to look at, revise, complete. Some writing, either in poetic form or narrative form. She talks about writing, that when you were at school, you wanted to write a lot. Yes, and she's encouraging you to continue with this writing. And she says, if you look into the old bookcase or wherever, you will find that there's a drawer with papers that you either collected from many years ago, where you started the writing, and that will give you some inspiration to carry on the writing now. All right? All right. She's talking about conjuring, not literal magician conjuring, but she's saying metaphorically, you've been trying to conjure with a situation in the family where it could go either way, but you've been trying to use your powers of persuasion to bring this situation under control and literally try and conjure with it to make it happen in the way that you feel is appropriate. Yes? Okay, yes, but you're identifying with this, are you? Mm-hmm. Okay. And who's Lucy or Lucille living? No? Right, okay. She's talking about Lucille. All right, so to just wrap this up quickly, she's talking about before she goes, she's talking about the handkerchiefs, and the handkerchiefs with the markings on the corner, the embroidery, because she says she still loves to look and work with beautiful lace and embroidery, all right? She likes you to know that. I will, yes, thanks. You're either thinking of changing your pillow, your bed pillow, or you have changed it because it needs to be a slightly different thickness. Yeah, she's saying get a move on and change it because it won't do the neck any much good. All right, thank you very much, Daphne. Good to work with you. Good to work with you. Where do I want to go now? I think I'm going online here now. And I've got a gentleman who would have passed in his 30s, probably mid to late 30s. He's talking about being a very racy guy. So I don't see him necessarily driving racing cars, but he lived in the fast lane, figuratively speaking. And he is the friend of a lady. There's a lady online who would know this young man's mother. So he's trying to get to his mother through a lady online. He's giving me his name. He's giving me the name of Michael. I'm not sure at the moment whether this is his name or whether it's a name that would have been associated with his family or indeed the lady that is online now waiting to receive the message. But he was very artistic as well. So he did like to dabble with paints and canvas. He also sketched, and he was a very, very fast talker. So you really had to keep up with him because the words just literally tumbled out of his mouth. Very, very fast speaking. He was also very keen on, had a great love of animals and animal life. So at any time available, he would like to go to on safari or go into a zoo or anywhere where he could experience closeness with the animal world. So, Richard, if you could indicate.
Somebody online, Carol, I've got something here saying her son is Michael.
Carol. Hello.
McDowell.
Hello, Carol. So your son Michael is in spirit. Is the person that I'm contacting, or is this? Right. Okay. Well, let me carry on with this then, Carol. Right. As I'm linking. Yeah, I really need to know, Carol, first of all, whether Michael is in spirit or
yes.
whether he's here. Yes?
Yes, she said.
In spirit, right. So there was a very troubled period that Michael went through before he his life finished on the earth plane. And he's saying now that it felt right. The time felt right. It had to be then. It couldn't really have been avoided because that was just the nature of things. And he's saying to me, I've since learnt in the spirit world that those moments can't really be deflected only under exceptional circumstances. So he said, I now know that it was the right time for me and the right thing to do to go at that point. So I'm glad that we've managed to link him with you, Carol, and presumably you can understand the description and his likes for animals and being very racy and artistic. He's also talking, he's making me laugh because he's talking about either being not cautioned, but remarked upon by you about the fact that he never put lids on jars properly. You totally understand. Thank you, Carol. Which is a nice piece of evidence, and I'm glad that he's told me that, but he's laughing and said I could never put one of those, I wouldn't use the word, lids on the jar properly. Yes, I will. He loved pickled onions. He's talking about pickled onions because he's doing this to me and saying one after the other, pickled onions, pickled onions, pickled onions. He's also singing the song, My Old Man Said Follow the Van, and don't, sorry, go on.
Yes, he drove me crazy.
Right, okay, thank you. He's singing, My Old Man Said Follow the Van, and don't dilly-dally all the way. Do you remember who sang that, really? Was it Lonnie, not Lonnie Donegan?
There's a lady in the music hall, I've forgotten the name of.
Oh, Lloyd, Murray Lloyd. My old man said, follow the van, and don't dilly-dally all the way. Right, yeah.
Moving, isn't it?
Okay, yes. So I think there's some meaning in that, Carol. My old man said, follow the van, whether that's something that...
He also says, yes, me in the pickles.
Okay, great. Also, he's talking about a TV series that he would have watched or liked. It was a series called Wagon Train with an actor called Ward Bond. And I used to watch that, so I don't know whether that's significant here. I used to sing that when...
Carol said, I used to sing that song when we were...
Kids. Oh, good, my old man. Thank you very much, Carol.
You can say it now, I won't interrupt you.
That's all right, thank you very much. Now, he's saying, yes, me, him, with pickles. Thanks. He's also talking, Carol, about the fact that either you've changed your eye makeup or eyeliner recently or looked at some different way of applying makeup, because he was saying that he was in your room and he was watching you in the mirror, looking in the mirror and saying, well, I'm not too sure. I've been wearing that for a long time. I think I'll try something new, something different. Sorry, you're saying can't think of that, but we'll look into it. So I'm not sure whether that refers to the makeup or whether that's the previous comment. Previous comment. Okay, well, if you could look into that, Carol, thank you. And Steve. He said that he's been watching Steve on the Earth plane. And he just changed the mascara. Right, thank you very much. Okay, well, he was watching very, very, very carefully. He said, I didn't want to pry, but I couldn't help noticing. Anyway, he's talking about Steve on the Earth plane, and he's very pleased with the way Steve's progress has been going. And he said, I never thought that he would have got that energy or that courage or that confidence to do what he's done now. And again, that really, Michael's referring to my address and how getting that courage together can produce results that you would never, ever have previously expected. So I hope that makes sense, Carol, about Steve. And yes, what do you want to say? Okay. He says he's still bad at numbers. He said, I couldn't add up for toffee, and I'm still not very good at it either. But he said, you don't have to do much of that here anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But he's just throwing out another little bit of evidence for you. He's also talking about the tools in the shed and how you had to get rid of the tools in the shed in order to make more room for other pieces of equipment that needed to go in there. But he said you didn't achieve the objective, which was to clear the shed and make it tidier. You've removed one lot of stuff and you've put another lot of stuff in there. You're saying is Uncle Steve, I understand why he would be saying that. Thank you very much, Carol. So he's just laughing about the shed and saying, well, there you are. You didn't achieve that particular objective, did you? He said, you'll have to have another clear out now. So, okay. He said, I'm actually quite good at doing all this stuff, talking about the mediumship. So I'm glad that we've been able to establish Michael here for you, Carol. And he sends loads and loads of love. He's talking about a birthday in April, and I want to go to the 16th or 17th of, I'm going to stick with the 17th of April. That's the date he's giving me as an anniversary date, April the 17th. He's also talking about, yes, I will, a gentleman who went abroad, either emigrated or went for a very, very, very long holiday, who has decided to return, and that gentleman will be linking up with the family again. So he's giving me very much a family friend link to do with this gentleman that will be coming back to the UK and reconnecting with the family. So I hope that this is still making sense to you. Yes, I cleared out and filled it with other stuff. My birthday, April, his birthday, 17th. So thank you very much for that, Carol. That's very, very good evidence. And he sends all his love, and I thank you very much for working with me, and God bless you. Thank you very much. May I come to Cherie, please, at the back? Yes.
Yes, my cousin's coming back from America.
Ah, your cousin's coming back from America. Great. Cherie, thank you. I have your mother here in spirit. Oh, yes. All right. Thank you. She said, I'm not going to go through all the illness before passing. She said, we've done all that. So she wants to talk about somebody very close to you who you really need to wag the finger at and say, you know, you only get so many chances, and then, mate, you've blown it. Do you understand? Right, good. She said, I don't mince my words, and she said, and neither does my daughter. Okay, thank you very much. She's also talking about a tie pin that would have belonged to your father, a tie pin, because she said this tie pin seems to have been lost and found again, and is now back where it should be, she says. Do you understand?
I think so.
Thank you very much. Esther. She says she's met Hester or Esther in the spirit world. Hester. It is a very unusual name, but quite popular in that period.
Yes.
Get it?
Yes.
Hester. Because she said Hester was always a bit of a little dormouse. Unlike me, she said. Yeah. Because she's showing me the, like a rattlesnake, and she's saying it will be very stealthy, and then suddenly, boom, pounce. So she's giving me her character. I wouldn't like to meet this lady in a dark alley. I'll tell you that much. I mean, she's very nice, but watch your P's and Q's. She's talking about something that you ate recently, which very much upset you. Very, I don't know, it did something to the digestive system, or not good food for you. So the reason she's saying this is because she said it might be advisable, and we don't give medical advice, but she says it might be advisable to have some kind of allergy testing at some point to foods. Because she said what you used to be able to eat, certain foods you can't eat anymore. No. She's also talking about, I know you have some physical sort of muscular problems here, but she's also talking a little bit about the, yes, I will, the eyesight, and saying that time for the eye check. You understand? Good. The scarf. You recently found you were going through some drawers or sorting out some clothes, and you found a scarf. And that scarf you found was something that really jogged your memory about an experience that happened around the time of either acquiring that scarf, buying it, or being given that scarf. You understand? Loads, because you're definitely sorting through a lot of stuff recently, she says, because she was watching you. And all right. She said you also found a bobble hat. You know those hats with a little bobble on that people wear in the snow things, and yeah, good. Len. She's talking also about meeting Len in spirit. Len, short for Leonard. Okay. She's talking about a friend of your dad's. Len, a friend of your dad's who he worked with. Okay. I think you must have known this guy at some point because she wouldn't have mentioned him otherwise. Two little boys and two little girls. Okay, I don't want to go through that. Maurice Chevalier. She's laughing and she's saying, tell her about Maurice Chevalier. Do you understand? Yeah, okay. Because she said, we listen to music here, but it's music that you can't imagine because it's so beyond your comprehension. That, Auntie Doris. She's talking about Auntie Doris. Auntie Doris. She's not elaborating, she's just saying Auntie Doris. Right. Woodville. She's talking about Woodville Road. Woodville, like W-W-D-V-I-L-L-E, Woodville Road. Because you've got connections to Peckham, haven't you? I'm not saying Woodville.
I used to work in Peckham when I was in my team.
Yeah, she's talking about Peckham and she's talking about Woodfield Road, but I don't know whether she means Woodfield Road is actually in Peckham. But I think the Woodville Road will come to you, but Peckham. And there used to be a lady, she says, that you worked with who was, how do I put this politely, either casting aspersions about you or insinuating things about you which really were not true. Yeah? And she's just picking up on this point because she said in those days you weren't that forward about challenging anybody that said something that was contrary to what you felt or what you believed. And she said, yeah, you're standing up. And she gives that lady as an example of somebody who tried to put you down. All right, Sylvia. Who's Sylvia on the earth plane? Sylvie or Sylvia? She's somebody that you met just before you came into this movement, spiritualism. Sylvie or Sylvia, yes. She had a mother who she pushed in a wheelchair. Sorry, I'm going back so far, but anyway, she's mentioning this. Now, to get to the crux of the message, she's saying, you think quite often that there is never enough time to accomplish everything you need to do. But she said there's plenty of time because you've still got plenty of work here to do before you come over here, she says. All right? And she says, make sure that you don't let the grass grow under your feet. You are being helped, you're being guided very, very strongly by Spirit. You've had a definite urge to move back into the healing work, and Spirit will sort that for you, and you'll be in the right place at the right time, doing the healing as and when. All right? Okay, that's a pleasure. And Mark, she just leaves, and as she's leaving and fading away, she's talking about Mark and how Mark really succeeded at what he wanted to do. Mark. I think you'll remember Mark. By the time we get out there, you'll remember. Right, okay, well, I don't know who this Mark is, but she's saying Mark has succeeded. Yeah. Thank you very much, Shireen. Thank you for working with me. All right, okay, where do I want to go now? One more? Okay. Okay. Shirley. Sorry, Shirley. This Shirley. May I come to you? Thank you very much. I've got a lady here that you would have worked with at one point in your life. Because she comes through and she's showing herself to me as quite a theatrical lady. Not to say that she was a professional actress, I don't know. She looks as though she ought to be, but this could have been just a very popular pastime. But she said, just like the other lady that came through for you, she's saying to me, I was never afraid to tell people exactly what I thought. She's laughing because she said, I'm glad you talked about Murray Lloyd and the music halls, because she said that was one of my big things. She loved that. And she's going like this with her hair and saying, oh, I've got to get it just right and all of that. And because she said for many years you didn't have this long hair. Yeah. You've had it to There, not the long hair as it is now, because she's laughing about that. And yeah, she said, we did duck and dive, didn't we? Yes, not to put too fine a point on it. And she laughs about that. And she also laughs about, because I know I heard you talking earlier in the lobby about the craze and all that fraternity. And she said there were one or two old screws, she said, that used to knock around. That's her language. And she said, this is not implying in any way that you were connected with those people, but she's just saying, now I've got you, she said to me, she said, I'm going to make the most of this. So Tom Thumb. What was it about the character of Tom Thumb when you were very, very young? I'm talking about childhood. Either your mother read you stories about Tom Thumb. Yeah, because she's talking about that. And she says about Tom Thumb being obviously tiny, and how you personally struggled for quite a long time to become more of who you thought you should be. Yeah, okay. Because she said she said you weren't going to let, adversity get in the way. And again, she's referring back to my address. So it's definitely brought a lot of reaction from the spirit world. All right. We're not going to go into any detail here, but she says that about 16 years ago, there was either some form of procedure carried out with you that you thought was going to be a lot worse than it actually was, or it led you to arrive at a point where it actually assisted your development and progress.
I think she's right,
Yeah. So she said, what can often appear to be, oh my God, this is it, curtains, can change your whole perspective on life. And she said it has to, okay, I will. She said, now listen to me, she said, about the healing, because she said, you work in a slightly different way to conventional healers. You do a lot of healing with the voice. And she said, people don't just listen and say, oh, that sounds very nice. Yes, I'll think about it. Your voice and the energy and the vibration of that voice actually starts to affect the energy levels of the person you're working with. And Spirit have been very clear about the fact that voice healing is going to be a predominant part of spiritual healing in the near future. All right. And also she's talking about getting back on platform. You've been asked, and that's as far as it's gone. Well, she's saying, by hook or by crook, girl, I'm going to get you up on that platform. She means business, this lady. So, thank you very much. What is it? Yes. Come. Right. She's just leaving you with another lovely song from many, many years ago. It's Come and Make Eyes at Me down at the old Bull and Bush. It makes sense. Good. We won't go into that then. Right, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much for working with me, Shirley. Thank you very much to everyone online and everyone in church. And God bless you all.
Thank you, Phil. Well done. Phil, do you have the adverts for next week? Who the medium is?
Oh, gosh, who's the medium? Sorry, my mind's gone blank.
I don't know.
Just talk for
Okay.
me.
Friends, thank you very much, Phil. Wonderful meeting. My Ashley.
Yes.
Oh, medium next Sunday is Ashley Robinson. I bet he's forgotten as well.
It's the Lyceum.
Oh, the Lyceum, yes. So that's next week, and I believe my grandson Ethan's going to do a reading, not a clairvoyant reading, but he's going to do a reading. But you never know with Ethan, he might. But he'd be doing a reading, I believe, and I think Oscar. No, he don't want to say that. He probably would actually. But Noah's going to say something as well because he asked his dad if he could the other day. Been a lovely morning. We've got spiritual healing here Tuesday evenings, led by Leslie Moulton. We have Thursday healing with June Frost. I don't think there'll be any healing today unless Olwyn's going to do healing. Olwyn will be available for healing today. There's no June. And it's great to see Shirley back with us. Missed you. It's been so silent here without you. It really has. I thought I'd passed away the other day because I couldn't hear a thing. So it's great to have you back, Shirley. It really is. And if you haven't already told Daphne and I, we're taking Shirley home this afternoon. We're going to pick up printer that she's got at her flat. So have a great day. Think of my daughter-in-law Claire. She's got a bit of a cold at the moment. She's not feeling well. It doesn't help being married to Ashley either, to be honest. Same problem Jackie has being married to me. You know, she's got to work and off a really terrible karma. She really has. I don't know what it is. She's never told me, but just being married to me is a pain in the aura. So friends, thank you all very much. It's been a lovely morning. It's glad to be back chairing. I've got to get my glasses worked in because really can't see a thing when I'm up here. I see better spiritually. Phil, thank you once again. It's been a lovely service. Would you like to close our meeting with prayer? And I'd also like to thank Richard, SPTV, all the great work you do, and especially what you do for spiritual people and the movement. And people online, you're never alone. If you're at home and you are alone, you're not alone because SPTV is there to help you through the day. Thank you. Phil.
Thank you, Ray. And I'd also like to extend thanks to Richard at SPTV for all the great work he does in helping us broadcast across the world. So please join me in the closing prayer, which is a native Indian blessing. Teach me how to trust my heart, my mind, my intuition, my inner knowing, the senses of my body, the blessings of my spirit. Teach me to trust these things so that I may enter my sacred space and love beyond my fear, and thus walk in balance with the passing of each glorious sun. Thank you. God bless.
On behalf of Jackie and I, ladies and gentlemen, have a wonderful Sunday afternoon. We've got a busy one, I know, in front of us, Jackie and I. If you've got a chance to rest and relax, do so, enjoy it, and we'll see you at the coming weeks at Wimbledon Spiritualist Church. Good morning, God bless you all, seen and unseen.